Hi, this is Arun Bhaskar from BKBB, the acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Batein. We have a channel called Bhaskar Ki Business Batein, which talks about policy analysis, stories, and conversations. And this is an edition which started 2.5 weeks ago. And this is the 30th episode. It is about news, not exactly news, but news behind the news. And we look at 3 to 4 headlines which we think are important headlines for you to know about. And with me, I have Isha, my co-anchor, and she will take up some of the items and I'll take up the others. We are going to discuss 3 stories today. And these 3 stories are there on your screen, which talk about how the government in the parliament has decided to link Aadhar cards with voter IDs. We think there becomes constitutional crisis and we'll explain why. The second story is a cause for excitement and a cause for worry. It is about the trade gap, which has narrowed, which should be a cause for excitement. But there are questions. And the third story is about how markets are going up. And there's cause for investors to be very excited. But before we go to the headlines, I would like to point out that we are doing these stories against a backdrop of yesterday's developments, where Israel bombed Gaza and killed 400 people. In a way, it underscores what many strategists told us, that the ceasefire was not something that Hamas wanted. The ceasefire was something that Israel wanted temporarily so that they could realign the military strategy. Israel was losing soldiers. Israel's soldiers were refusing to go to Gaza because they were killed there. So what Israel has done now is they're going to kill people only from the air without sending soldiers in. It is a bloodbath. Someone will intervene. Maybe it'll start with the Houthis. Maybe the others will get dragged in. But this is going to escalate into a big war. On the other side, you had this peace talks between Russia and America about a ceasefire in Ukraine. And the limited ceasefire is about energy plants and infrastructure. But Russia has refused to accept the ceasefire unless other conditions are met with. So it doesn't look like there'll be a respite of war on that front also. And remember, Trump has started 3 wars. He attacked the Houthis. The Houthis reacted, and it looks like the Red Sea may become a scene of conflict. Trump has also said that he'll annex Greenland, which could be another theater of conflict. And he sent his troops towards Panama Canal, threatening to take over Panama Canal, which could be a third theater of conflict. You must look at these 3 headlines against the background of these developments because they will color many of your understandings of this development. The first story is primarily about an item that appeared in the Indian Express, backed up by data from the Lok Sabha, which yesterday the government decided that voter IDs and Aadhaar databases will be linked. The opposition's furious. Now there's a background to it. The government has admitted before the entire parliament in the past that at least 9 states have more Aadhaar cards than the populations of the states. You'll see the 9 states on the left-hand side of the screen. And the government, in its wisdom, demanded that banks and the other authorities start linking Aadhaar cards with PAN cards also. So you have a surge in PAN cards. And before that, the government said that every Aadhaar card must have a bank account. So because of the excessive Aadhaar cards, you have bogus bank accounts, and bogus PAN cards. And now the government wants to link these to voter ID cards, which means you'll have bogus voter ID cards also. Now that could get challenged to the Supreme Court because it goes against the very concept of democracy. What will happen, I do not know, but let's see. Okay, we go to the second story, which is Isha's story.
Hello, good morning. Today, thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to be talking about a story from the Hindu titled High Base Effect. So, in February, India's good trade saw the steepest decline in nearly 2 years. As you can see on the chart on the screen, which we've taken from Business Standard, exports have dropped by 10.9% in to 36.1 billion US dollars, and import have dropped 16.3% to 50.96 billion US dollars only in the month of February. This is the smallest trade deficit that we've recorded in the past 42 months. While ordinarily a shrinking trade deficit could be considered good news, the simultaneous decline of both the exports and the imports is concerning. So, while experts partly attribute this decline to an effect called the high base value, which is a statistical tendency for an absolute change to translate into a smaller percentage change. I believe that this is not the entire picture. The deficit is not purely statistical. It's also representative of a trend of American importers of holding back on orders due to wariness surrounding the reciprocal tariff set to be imposed as of April 2nd, according to Trump's bilateral trade agreement. The reduction in imports can be attributed to 62% plunge in gold imports in the past year, caused by the rise in domestic gold prices, and a drop in oil imports due to the diversification of supply and increased imports from Russia. Currently, the US is not only one of India's top five trading partners, but it's also the only country on the top five list where India enjoys a trade surplus. The US is India's second largest trade partner, and Indian exporters are threatened by this recent development as it will affect the trade surplus that currently exists. If Washington were to neutralize the trade deficit, India could face a 15% widening of the overall trade deficit. However, the policies are not favoring India or even equal. So instead of solely focusing on the US, India should diversify into Chinese markets and maybe the UK and other Asian markets with whom we have more favorable trading relations. That's all from my side. Thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your comments on this story, sir.
Thank you very much, Isha. You raised a very important point, and that is the trade deficit is not just a statistical aberration. This is for this causes serious concerns. When you have exports declining and if imports declining, they also point to low consumption, a drop in consumption in the markets. And when there's a drop in consumption, it means people have lost their purchasing power. Purchasing power has been lost because of two reasons. One is a drop in salaries, because many people are losing jobs. The absence of new jobs, so many people who enter the job market cannot get a job. And the other factor is inflation, which eats into the purchasing power of common people. So you have a news that would have normally excited economists. But this is a development that should worry economists, especially because A, of the war that's taking place, and also because this will mean a slowdown in the global economy, which will affect India even more adversely. And that, in a way, takes me to a third story. The third story, again, is something that should give you cause for joy, happiness, excitement. If you're a trader, if you're a speculator, you'll be excited because the market finally climbed up. Both the Nifty and the Sensex showed a dramatic increase, as can be seen from the Business Standard charts. And when you see such increase after many days of declines again and again, the markets have lost a lot of value. The question is, why did this increase take place? One possibility is that all Indian financial institutions were persuaded by the government to make investments at the same time, thus causing the markets to go up. Once the markets go up, it's quite possible that the foreign investors will come in because the Indian investors have guaranteed a bottoming out of the markets. But that depends on two factors. One, it remains to be seen what the war scenario in the entire world will be, which could make India see a further decline in the markets. Please look at the charts. While many markets have increased, Dow Jones, which is the largest market, has actually declined. And that should be cause for worry. Nobody likes a turbulent global scenario where people get killed and nobody knows what to do. And that is why it's horrifying. So while the markets may be exuberant, caution is advised because we don't know which way the tide will turn. And yes, while we were talking, I can see some questions coming in. And before I deal with the questions, just a reminder, please click the subscribe button. And do subscribe because we want more subscribers. And do click the like button. The like button makes us realize what are the things that you like. And yes, let's go to the questions. The first question is a question that is there on almost everyone's mind. What are the chances of global peace? With a bloodthirsty Israel willing to go in for genocide and ethnic cleansing, the chances of global peace are very remote unless sanity emerges in the US Senate to block arms and financial aid to Israel. Israel cannot survive without the US. And behind every attack of Israel is the US hand permitting that slaughter. So, will it happen? I don't know. Things look bad. Thanks. Let's take the second question. And the second question is about will Indian markets attract foreign investors? Maybe yes, because maybe the sense that the government is going to hold the markets and prevent it from falling further. Foreign investors otherwise are not enthused about India at the moment because India has not looked at how to grow its markets. It's not looked at how to create new jobs. Markets grow when jobs grow, when investments create new production capacities. India has not done that as yet, and that's why there's an element of disenchantment. And that takes us to the third question. And the third question is equally interesting. How does one boost exports? As my co-anchor Isha rightly pointed out, India should be looking at markets which have the money. America is bankrupt. It has no money. It wants India to purchase so it can get the money. And India stupidly agrees to everything. India can't export to EU because EU is also short of cash. And yet you see every minister going to USA, going to Europe, going to UK, going to New Zealand. On the one hand, you just keep on talking about how India should shed the colonial mentality. On the other, it does everything and runs those countries trying to persuade the colonials to be friendly and more trade with India. Instead of going to New Zealand, instead of going to UK, instead of going to the EU, the Commerce Ministry should be going to Indonesia, to Malaysia, to Thailand, and trying to work with them on how to grow exports. China exports to them. Why has India forgotten the eastern neighborhood entirely? Why is it that we hear more about ministers going to other countries and not to the east? That is where the markets will be. Look at the growth rates of ASEAN, which are 10 times bigger than the growth rates of the G7. And that is why you just cannot improve exports by looking at markets that are deadbeat. You have to find new markets. And that, of course, will also give an answer to the next question. What is the outlook for the US dollar? I don't know. The US dollar will become weaker. And some said Trump wants the US dollar to become weaker so that he can export more. Because he's going to be plagued by tariffs which cause prices to go up. So, yes, the US dollar could become weaker. Will that be good news for us? I don't know. I still do not know. The scenario is too confusing. A weak US dollar will mean a better, will mean less Indian rupees for each dollar. But maybe bad news for India because we may be importing more because it's cheaper to import from America. At the moment, India needs to export more. At the moment, India needs to increase its production capacities in India. So I do not know what will happen here. But yes, keep watching and please keep on sending your questions in because will try to answer them. And more important, do click the subscribe button and do log in tomorrow to hear the next edition of News Behind the News. Have a great day ahead. Have a wonderful day. And then we see each other tomorrow. Thank you.